Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're not quite there yet, help us out and hit that subscribe button. So we've heard all this back and forth, how Trump claims that he wanted, Jack Smith to be able to testify in public. He wanted his testimony public. Jack Smith wanted to testify in public. Jim Jordan is one that said, no, Republicans in Congress do not want Jack Smith to testify in public because he proves beyond reasonable doubt that Trump, in fact, led that insurrection January 6th. And he's responsible for everything that happened, including the hang Mike Pence part. So it's real easy for Trump to say these things. And because he knows that he's got people in place who will never let it happen. Just like he had Pam Bondi make sure that the Epstein Files are not released. They're redacted. A few things with Democrats in them, but this is Trump, getting everybody else to obstruct justice for him. Remember, once they commit a crime for him, they have to keep committing those crimes or they don't get that pardon. So Smith's attorneys wrote a letter to Jim Jordan saying that he wanted full release of all of this. He's asking to testify in public. Now he's saying he wants a complete release of his testimony so that everybody will know what he's saying, because he proves that Trump, of course, is a criminal and insurrectionist. And that's what the Republicans in Congress can't have. So they're saying in a new letter, his attorneys, that he welcomed the opportunity to testify about Trump's alleged unlawful retention of classified documents, obstruction of justice, and the role in attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election. And he hoped his testimony would serve to correct the many mischaracterizations about the work of the special counsel's office. So, of course, Republicans will never let that happen. So Jim Jordan is going around there acting. They said no, but then they subpoenaed Jack Smith to make it look like he was refusing to testify in public, like he was somehow being a hostile witness, that he was, not willing to cooperate because he had so much to hide, because he was just making it all up. And so they're choreographing this scene, just pretending that he isn't trying to testify in public. And the problem with this is Fox News plays along. Sean Hannity is a disgrace. We know that. And of course, I used to know Sean. I used to be on his whole show all the time for many, 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 many years. But Sean Hannity is a disgrace. And so a lot of MAGA will never get the proper information that Jack Smith wanted to testify in public, that Jack Smith wants the testimony that he gave behind closed doors to be made public. Stupid, idiotic MAGA, even 10 years into this crisis, this era of Trump, they still don't know how to get proper news, accurate information, or they don't care to. I maintain on the Epstein Files that now that it's proven, really is proven, we know that Trump raped 13-year-olds. There's just enough that they forgot to redact little snippets. And I'm wondering if maybe we have a patriot in there that was ordered to redact all this stuff. And then, oops, they missed a part. And there are a couple things in there. The part where these girls, 13-year-old girls, were part of a pageant or something, and they were told to dress up, and they were going to Mar-a-Lago. And they were dressed like grown women. And it was Marla Maples, who was married to Donald Trump at the time, who pulled one of the mothers aside and said, please keep your daughter away from these men, especially my husband. You have to protect these girls. So she knew. Must have one hell of an NDA, as I think I said yesterday, quoting John Cryer, because he was on Blue Sky about that. And then there's other parts, just a few lines that they forgot to redact, or maybe, again, somebody wanted to put a few things in there, act like it was a mistake, but let us know. And it's the notes between, Trump and Epstein about, oh, here's one for you. This one's good. And joking about which one is better, and basically referencing what, this one's for you, what they're going to do. Those snippets are important. And if you're engaging with MAGA, say on Facebook or in real life, whatever, show them that. And I put that on Facebook too. I said, show these to your MAGA friends, because here's the thing. Your MAGA friends that pretend that they don't believe that Trump really did any of this. Well, you can't prove it. There's no why, why don't they release it? Oh, great. They say, why didn't they release the files? Well, the Biden administration, Biden wasn't allowed to do that. But now that there was a law in the grand jury testimony, so everything is redacted. So Pam Bondi basically committed another crime by redacting everything instead of releasing it as the new law required her to do. She and Trump are breaking the law again. This is obstruction of justice. And also, so are your MAGA friends smart enough to connect the dots on their own? No. They know what he did on January 6th, and they know that he rapes 13-year-old girls. There's enough evidence out there to know that he's hiding a lot. They know it. But they want to pretend they don't know it. Because once they know it and they have to admit that they know it, they have two choices. Either denounce Trump, MAGA, and Trumpism and understand that he has to go to prison and definitely needs to leave the White House. Or they have to admit that, yes, we know he raped 13-year-old girls. We just don't care. We want him to get away with it. So trust me, it's not that they don't know. It's not that they don't know. But they want to be able to keep pretending that they don't know. And that's why this key information will be kept from them. The stuff that missed the redactions about Trump and the 13-year-old who didn't know it, about Marla Maples. MAGA won't hear that. You have to show it to them. I put it all over Facebook because that's where most of the MAGA are. I don't really engage with them on Twitter or Blue Sky, and I certainly don't want them here on my YouTube channel. But force them to pick a lane. But make sure that they know it's true. Because right now, they're not getting this information. Fox News is making it very, very easy for MAGA to lie to themselves. But trust me, they know. So put this there in front of them. This is the part that, oops, somebody forgot to redact. And it slipped by. These little snippets that came out about Marla Maples and about Trump and Epstein, about talking about the 13-year-old. The little girls that they were going to, Once MAGA sees that, they can say, oh, that's fake news. No, it's not. It's right there. This is what was released by the DoJ. They just forgot to block this part out. So show it to them. Make them see it and know that it's in there. Make them have to admit. Once they know, they can't, because then they can't deny it anymore. Oh, but Bill Clinton. We're not talking about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's not in the White House. And while there are pictures of Bill Clinton that were released, remember, they didn't redact those. You don't see him. You don't see anything about him writing, although he did do one of those creepy notes for the birthday book, the Epstein birthday book. But he didn't draw pictures, an outline of prepubescent girls, naked prepubescent girls like Trump did. And then Trump signed his name in the pubic area of that drawing. I have to hesitate before I say this stuff because I don't know how to handle this. You don't want to use these types of words and language on social media. You don't want to get blocked out. On the other hand, this is the news of the day, and it is very, very important. And so we have to address it. So sometimes I hesitate. So I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. But make sure that your MAGA friends, acquaintances, former friends, whatever, know this. Oh, by the way, this comes under the header of if we can change the hearts and mind of one MAGA, then we win. If you can't change their hearts and minds, at least shut them down. Because as I said a day or two ago, I'm all for some voters staying home, the MAGA voters. And I think they did for these special elections and for the off-year elections last month. As a strategy, that's it. And Trump knows that they're staying home, which is why he's decided to go out there on the campaign trail, even though his poll numbers are in the toilet and he's losing support around MAGA. So that's where our fight is. Once we narrow it down to that in our little strategy session here, Trump is trying to get them to love him again. And he's trying to hide information from them. You have information that you can get to them. And I think keeping it real simple like this is probably a better way to win them over rather than going down the whole litany. Show them that bit about Marla Maples. Show them that bit that got the stuff that they forgot to redact in from the Epstein files, from the grand jury stuff, testimony, and that bit about the conversation that Trump and Epstein were having about the little girl and what they were referencing. Once your MAGA friends know that, again, they either have to admit that they're okay with it, that it is not disqualifying. And then it becomes about them, not about Trump, not about your alleged Trump derangement syndrome. Don't let them make it about you. You make it about them. You're okay with this? But Bill Clinton, no, we're not talking about Bill Clinton. We're not voting for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's not going to run again. We're talking about Trump. And the information and the evidence that we have against Trump, it's not there for Bill Clinton. You understand? So take these things in these digestible pieces where it's crystal clear to your MAGA friends, and they'll say, well, that's fake news. Nope, it was released by Trump's DoJ. They forgot to redact it. Just think what else is there. It's real. And make it about them so that they can't make it about you. Make them admit that they're okay with it. Make them admit that now they understand that Jack Smith is begging to testify publicly, and it is Republicans protecting Trump by keeping this information from MAGA. They want to stay in the dark. Trust me. Trust me. Don't let them. Force them to know it. Force them to at least own it. And that's how you hold them accountable. And there will be some, I promise you, there will be some of them who will not want to admit that they're okay with this. Or maybe they're not okay with it. Maybe they're confused. And that will make them stay home for the midterms. And I'm just fine with that. And again, I've worked in politics for decades, and I've never advocated for voters to stay home and not vote. But I will now. Oh, well, look at all the voter suppression that the Trump administration and what Republicans are doing around the country. They don't want Black people to vote. They want to make it very, very hard for Black people to vote because Black people still overwhelmingly vote Democrat. And that's why they're doing everything they can to make sure they stay home, to make it harder for them to vote. They are doing the gerrymandering for districts that have elected Black members of Congress, Democrats, and they're redrawing the lines to draw them out. I think that's what's happening with Jasmine Crockett, so she's running for the Senate. So if you're a Black person and you don't get to go vote for the Black congresswoman that you voted for last time because now you've been redistricted out, maybe you'll just stay home. They are doing everything they can to suppress the vote. So understand that. What your job is, if you can change the hearts and mind of one MAGA, go for 3 or 4 if you can. But if we all can do this, at least let them know what they're okay with. More importantly, for the midterms, because they can say, well, Trump isn't on the ballot. Well, he's going out and he's campaigning for this Republican. And that's another thing. If you are, go to the rallies, the meetings, whatever, with a Republican candidate or Republican incumbent and ask them directly, because I don't think your media will. Ask them directly at town halls, in letters. Remember we talked about before how you want to get these people on the record in writing. And then you provide this information to your Democratic candidate. It's called doing the research in advance so that the DNC doesn't have to rush at the last minute and put together a record of votes or statements. You can do it. You can email, call, but you want proof of it. So a call isn't enough. You want email proof or physical hard copy letter proof. You ask the Republican member of Congress, make it real simple. So it's a yes or no. Do you still support Trump, or do you think he should be president given this? And then give those examples, this clear evidence that he's all over the Epstein files and it looks like serious crimes were committed. Ask them, get them on the record, and then you can provide that information to the Democrat candidate running against them so that they have it. And what they should be doing is, doing ads around that and radio actualities and press releases and put it in their stump speech that this Republican incumbent supports what looks like the rape of 13-year-olds. And that's why he's hiding it. That's why they have it redacted all over the place. And that's how you keep this issue alive. Because then you've got it as part of the discussion that you're helping lead in your congressional district where you live. And force your MAGA friends to know this. And then they have to decide how they feel about that Republican running on Trump's coattails. Because now, remember, Trump before was saying, oh, these off-year elections weren't about me. I wasn't on the ballot because Democrats won big. MAGA got trounced. MAGA stayed home largely. MAGA's pulling away from Trump. So he actually thinks that him going out there trying to pull MAGA back into him is going to help. So make it about this. We have homework here. But I do think that I don't think people are tuning into stuff like this and paying such close attention just because you're political junkies and it's a hobby. Like I said, I've said this before, people who've never been involved in politics before are very involved now. They understand the assignment. They understand the danger we're in, and we all have a role to play. So I'd like to think that having something rather than just understanding what's happening and being able to comment on it, there's actually stuff we could do. We'd like to think, sometimes we think that we're helpless. We're not. We're not. So good luck out there.